2019 to 2020 was some of the worst years of my life because of events that were affecting my mental health and all of that. And reactions really took a lot off my mind. And I think that's what people really wanted, was a source of entertainment. And I was thinking, I want to do something that gets people. I want to, keep doing this to get people through the hard times, because it was very, very difficult. It was making me happy to know that I was making other people happy, especially in a very, very dire time of need. But it was also, making me happy being able to distract myself from, life events that were just plaguing me during those years. So, yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reactorverse Podcast, brought to you by Passion Fruit. I am joined today by a very special guest. You might have seen him in our recent Crossing the Streams episode of Doctor Who. Now he's here to give us a one-on-one interview, as we always do. It is Liam Catterson. Liam, thank you for being here.
Hello there. Thank you for inviting me. It's absolutely amazing to be on here, and I'm excited for this. So, yeah.
I'm excited to have you here. Obviously, you're coming from across the pond, so thank you for coming in a little late today for yourself.
Oh, I was up until nearly 2 a.m. last night, so it's all good. I'm still awake.
I'm usually here. Yeah.
I'm still fresh.
Like I said, you were able to join us for our Doctor Who discussion of Crossing the Streams, and that was just a really fun conversation to have about your love for the show and your experience with it for your channel. But I want to hear more. I want to hear about your whole story about getting involved with the channel and like your in the space in general. So we're going to go through that whole journey, starting all the way back, as we always do, at the start of the beginning, which is your YouTube channel. Didn't start with reactions. It started with another passion that you think you still have, which is your love for F1, F1 racing.
Yes. Oh boy.
What was the impetus there to start kind of just like uploading a little bit here and there on YouTube with those videos?
I mean, when I first started off then, I didn't really have I didn't have a mindset of, okay, this is what I want to do, because back then I just wanted to watch certain videos and all of that, have my own account, and every year me and my mum, we would go to Silverstone, the British Grand Prix, and I loved taking vlogs and all of that, being there in the action and all of that. So, yeah. So I did a couple of vlogs on a very, very bad camera. Compared to today's standards, it was great back then, but yeah. And yeah, I just really wanted to do, F1 content because I've loved it since practically I was born. And just for context, I'm coming up 30 years old this year. So it's been a passion that has been embedded in me since 1995, if anything. Right. But yeah, it wasn't just vlogs. It was a few game videos and all of that. When you would put a camera in front of your screen, because I didn't have a capture card or anything like that. So,
yeah.
And I thought, it would be fun to, record some crashes and all of that, because I thought back then damage model on this game is pretty decent. So, because of my passion, I didn't really have an idea of what this channel would be at that point. I was like, you know what, let's throw some F1 videos on there, because I love it. And I still do to this day, even though it traumatizes me sometimes. So,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got to start somewhere with something. So you did that for a couple of years, and then you eventually started to dip your toes into the reaction space with Doctor Who, as we mentioned, sort of a big staple of the channel, even to today. In our Crossing the Streams episode, you mentioned the Chique Geeks being sort of a inspiration for you. when you got started. And I was also very fond of the Chique Geeks when they were still around back in the day, because they were really pioneers of the space in a way.
Yeah.
What was your familiarity with them, but also the reaction space in general at that time?
To be fair, reactions back then were very, very scarce compared to what they are in 2024. You pretty much have a more populated space to compared to back then. I was just searching up. I wasn't even intending on searching up reactions, to be fair, when I first encountered the Chique Geeks. I was just watching. I was just looking for. Especially in relation to the 50th anniversary and time of the Doctor, because it was such a massive time to be a Doctor Who fan with David Tennant returning. And, not just that, though, Billy Piper. And it was such a glorious time. And, of course, there was the whole idea of the War Doctor, and we would be dipping our toes into the Time War, which was, for a Whovian around that time, forbidden terrain, because it was like one of those things you just never will get to experience until this moment. So and then they dropped after the 50th anniversary a teaser for Matt's final episode, which I was obviously not ready for, and I remember being super excited because the teaser had Daleks, Cybermen, Weeping Angels, and Silence all in one episode, and it's like, holy dang. So, I was just searching up everything and anything I could in terms of that, even after the episode ended. And then, they came about, and I just was like, oh, this seems very, very interesting. So I watched the Chique Geeks' reaction to the 50th anniversary. And then a couple of days later, they uploaded their Time of the Doctor video. It was super engaging. I remember watching it a few times because it was, something so fun. And there was a gear that snapped into my head thinking, maybe I should. When, the first episode of Series 8 comes along, it was Series 8, maybe I should give it a go, because it just seemed very, very fun to engage into. And
Right.
As I was prepping myself, I noticed a few other people did 50th anniversary reactions, but I kept going back to the Chique Geeks because they were just so entertaining and they were just so fun and engaging, and it was just a very, very, it was just very immersive. So,
Right.
yeah. And then obviously the first episode came along, and that's when I decided, let's put it out there. I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know how it's going to do, or anything like that, but my goal was to react to Peter Capaldi's first episode, and it started then. And,
and the rest is history,
the rest
as we hear today. But yeah, like I said, they were really pioneers, because at that time, that was when TV show reactions were still kind of in their infancy.
Yes.
There were, before that, the space was primarily trailers and stuff like that. But they were kind of doing TV shows for those things that they loved, and some other people were doing stuff too. When you started your channel, you were still pretty early in the game as far as that sort of development. Were you trying to emulate anything that they specifically did? Going into yours, sort of model yourself after what you saw and you liked from their content?
Oh, definitely not. I think for starters, they were, like I said, very entertaining. I was still very, very nervous and all of that. So it was like they had a handle on things in terms of, not being as nervous as I was. I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to watch, see what happens, and just say how I feel about, this scene or that scene, etc. And yeah.
Right.
But also, it was just, I don't know, it was just pretty new terrain for me. So I just hadn't had an idea on, okay, what do I want to, how do I present myself? Because I'm not the most social person. I am very, very closed off, if anything. So yeah, but I do want to, I guess present a shred of personality. So I really didn't have any idea on how to approach things when it came to reactions in general. But I definitely felt as time goes on, throughout the years, it kind of helped me in terms of like evolve in terms of more being more sociable and all of that. So, yeah, it was just let's wing it. Let's just see how it goes because, you know, emulating someone is not really a person that I want to be really because, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to kind of lose who I am, and I was still trying to find my place in the world really. So it was more so winging it and seeing how things went, and yeah.
And did you have any sort of specific technical obstacles you had to overcome to learn how to just do the filming, lighting, editing, all that stuff?
So the device that I was that I was watching the episode on, the laptop was so broken. The hinges were just not there, and it was like I had to have something in place to hold the screen up. So it was long overdue retirement. So, and I didn't even know what software to use in terms of editing, because obviously I had no idea what copyright issues were all about back then. Obviously, you'd learn that the hard way when it would come to the later years. But yeah, starting out, I was completely fresh. I had no idea on how to approach things in terms of the technical department. I just know that they edited it down. They didn't show the full 40, 50, whatever long episode it was.
Right.
And my internet wasn't really the best back then, so it was a blessing to try and cut it down. So I had a look online to see, okay, what's the best software to incorporate not just the PIP itself, but also, you know, me. And I don't know which one it was. It was something free, but it wasn't what I use right now, which is Sony Vegas and all of that. So yeah, it was a long while ago, but it did the job. So I guess I was fortunate that I was able to wing it. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Again, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
With something.
Oh, yeah. Even if the camera is, you know, not as great as it was, I thought it was okay. The problem also with that camera was it recorded in 20-minute increments. So I had to pause the episode after, 19 minutes just to make sure that it wouldn't cut off. Then I had to go to the camera again, go back to my position, go to the camera again after like 19 minutes. So yeah. And I'm just blessed that, you know, this thing doesn't have any kind of issues with it. I can just go as long as I want. So yeah, again, start off somewhere and yeah.
Build your way up. Yeah. And yeah, so Doctor Who became such an important part of the start of the channel, and you kind of went with that for the duration of that season, Peter Capaldi's first run, for like 6-7 episodes that he did before it went on another hiatus.
Yeah.
And to revisit some of our conversation from Crossing the Streams, what was your experience with the show prior to that, and how you sort of got involved with like the fandom for it and your love that would eventually inspire you to make your channel?
I mean, again, like when it came to me going on holiday that one time and seeing Doctor Who like advertised before the reboot started, it just became ingrained into me. And yeah, I mean, I didn't have internet access, you know, back when I guess Christopher Eccleston began, and pretty much the majority of David Tennant's era. But Matt Smith's era, you know, I pretty much had internet access and all of that, and yeah, it was pretty empty for me. I was just living vicariously off behind the scenes, filming pictures and all of that. So, you know, they would be, you know, taking pictures of the 11th hour Matt Smith's first episode, or especially the David Tennant regeneration specials. It was, you know, that was my only way to engage with the fandom, because yeah, like at school, I didn't really have anyone to speak to about Doctor Who, especially my best friend. He wasn't watching it. He was more watching, funnily enough, technical videos on YouTube because he was a huge PC buff. And then my other friend was just so fascinated about WWE, which I was, but no one was talking about Doctor Who.
Right.
And I only had myself really. So, and then, like I said, just living, vicariously in the behind the scenes pictures and all of that. It was just my gateway in terms of, embracing Doctor Who, aside from the episodes themselves. So sometimes my sisters would join in. And all of that in terms of that was when they would have nothing to do, so they would pester me saying, can I watch Doctor Who with you, etc. But that was really it. So pretty much before reactions, I was pretty much a loner when it came to Doctor Who and the fandom and all of that. So it's pretty sad, but thank God that's not the case in 2024, because I feel like for sure joining the reacting community has not just opened doorways just in general, but it's gotten me to connect to a lot more in terms of Doctor Who and all of that. So because we had a little Facebook group for Doctor Who reactions itself. Mm-hmm. So it was, a bunch of reactors who are no longer reacting now, but there was a few notable names as well. Like me and Torchwood Boy, we started off around the same time, and to this day we're still good friends and all of that. And we'll geek out about Doctor Who, like, oh my God, what happened in this episode? It's like, and it's so great to feel that, because I didn't have that prior reacting, and it's just like so great because it's a special interest of mine, and it's just so great to speak to people now about this happened in Doctor Who. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to like you said, develop envelop yourself into the fandom once you get involved in the reaction space, because you find new people across the world who could share that passion. And then when that season sort of again went on hiatus, did you have any idea of how you wanted to continue the channel? Now that you sort of had to fill in the blanks, without Doctor Who, was going to be a while before it came back.
Yeah, I mean, I was stuck in a bit of a limbo because when I started doing Series A, that was it. I wasn't eyeing up any other shows at the time because even prior to the first episode of Series 8, I didn't really watch too much in terms of any other content out there. I was pretty much just so enveloped in my games and all of that. So that really took away from like a lot of the TV time. I did watch, some other shows and all of that, but they're not, they don't come to mind unless I just, see it on like a repeat, like on a repeat channel, like, oh, I used to watch that back in the day and all of that. So I didn't really have an idea of what to do once Doctor Who concluded, because I was like, well, I don't really watch anything else. And during that break between Series 8 and Series 9, there were other shows that people mentioned that I decided, you know what, I may as well check it out and see what I might be missing. And, that included Game of Thrones, because season 4, should I say, just ended around then, and I wanted to catch up in time for season 5. And the CW verse as well, with the likes of Arrow, The Flash, they were, and because I was a bit of a comic fan anyways, I was like, okay, let's check it out, because I mean, I haven't really watched a live action comic show before, really, because I was so invested with with Spider-Man primarily. And yeah, I decided to check them out, and I was like, they're pretty good. And then I decided, what, again with the Chique Geeks, because they also did Game of Thrones as well. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I trust their gut, so I'll give this a whirl in terms of reacting, and I kind of adopted the same approach where what I did with Doctor Who Series 8, where I wouldn't watch all the episodes, but I would watch particular ones.
Right.
So yeah, there would be a few that I didn't watch and all of that, and during that time as well, I was doing college as well. And stubborn me decided on the episodes that I was gonna react to, I would stay because it would air at like 2 a.m. And
Right.
yeah, I had college at 6 a.m. So some Sundays to Mondays, I would be operating on 3 hours of sleep. And yeah, I know, not really the best move to make, but I was, as long as I had my flask with me, which also tied into how I first got into coffee as well, I would be set. So
Yeah.
reactions not only, opened certain doors for me, it also opened doors in terms of caffeine as well. So I blame reactions for that. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's understandable. It's a big zeitgeist moment to be involved in those conversations, as they were happening when the
yeah.
episode aired. And at that time, though, yeah, Game of Thrones, Arrowverse, those were sort of big shows for the space in general. I think those are some of the main shows that people were really inspired by to start their own channels. The normies started that way and so on. And were you aware of how expansive the space was getting at that time once more of those channels started popping up and like you start seeing more people dive into the TV show reactions?
Oh yeah, because not many people reacted to Doctor Who, and that's all I was searching up. And then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to have a little gander at the Flash reactions and all of that. Because, like I said, me and Torchwood Boy, we started at the same time, and, he was getting into certain Arrowverse shows as well. And then, you had stuff on recommended channels and all of that, where other channels would be reacting to the Flash or Arrow and all of that, and
Right.
I suddenly began to realize it's not just Doctor Who reactions people are doing, but it seems like this Reactorverse is expanding and all of that. Like it's a bit bigger than what I was expecting. I was only expecting like a few people, because it was very, very scarce back then, compared to what it is like in 2024. So it was just really, really great because there were quite a few channels that were popping up, some that I am familiar with. As you mentioned, Normies, very, very big channel that, would be one of the examples that would pop up and all of that. And it was just really, really surreal seeing all of these like channels, because again, with the Arrowverse, I would, like Game of Thrones, react to that at like 1 a.m. because it would be airing in America.
Right.
And whilst I was uploading, like it took me about an hour to upload and all of that, other channels were also uploading their Arrowverse content. And it was pretty interesting seeing all of these faces that I've never really recognized before, but they're, doing Arrowverse content, and it's, super, super cool to see this universe expand and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, the race was on at that time.
yeah, especially when you have bad internet, and you have to use Handbrake to kind of dial down
Oh, right.
so it wouldn't take a day or whatever, because great internet back then. So
Right.
so it was like it wasn't really so much a race to get this out there so people could watch this immediately after the episode. It was a race for me to get to bed. Like, I've got to get up for college in the morning, man. So
Right. That's a good choice. And you mentioned, Torchwood Boy and other people in the space. You would eventually become good friends with people in this field that you would know on a personal level. What was, I guess, that like, getting to know more people who would otherwise be strangers to you just from across the world?
yeah, I mean, like even to this day, it's just surreal because, and I've been doing this, and it's low-key paining me saying this. I've been doing this for a decade, so the white hairs are starting to come about. But knowing certain people who I had no idea about prior, and getting to have even a best friend status about it's just so great. Like I said, I didn't really have anyone to talk to about certain stuff. Like for example, if I watched some of the shows that I'm reacting to right now, in my own time, not reacting to them at all, I really wouldn't have anyone to talk to about it. If reactions weren't a concept and I was watching the Vampire Diaries or whatever, it would just be a pretty lonely world, really. But I have certain friends who comment about, oh my god, this happened in episode 10 of season 3 of Vampire Diaries, and and it's so great, because there have been certain people that I have met over the years that I've actually physically met. I mean, me and a few friends within the Reactorverse, we met in London in 2022, and it was honestly one of the best experiences of my life because it was just so great. I mean, it's I've known these people for a while, like across the screen and all of that. We would sometimes play D&D every week, and just to be within like meters within each other, and being rugby tackled by certain friends in terms of a hug, it's just so great. So, and yeah, it's honestly been a very rewarding experience, knowing certain people, because it's been pretty great in terms of not just helping me socialize with people a bit more, because that was a very I don't know, struggle. It was a struggle prior to reactions anyways. But there are so many people out there that I can really consider friends. And just listing them off, I'd be here all night. So, but it's just a statement. It's just a testament to how incredible it has been connecting with certain people. And yeah, like I said, it can come in various sources. It can come in the form of D&D. It can come in the form of like a little Doctor Who Facebook reactor group, etc., etc. But it's still, it still sends the same message in terms of how amazing it's been, like connecting with certain people over the years. So yeah, and it's not just reactors as well. I know there's been a few people who have watched my videos who have suddenly become friends and all of that. So yeah, it's just been really amazing.
Yeah, and I love to hear that. I mean, I love the collaboration between people in the space and building those bridges. That's always kind of what I'm a big advocate for, is people getting that sort of connection between one another. And seeing you, do that with people that I'm also a fan of, and seeing you occasionally pop up in, like, say, the J2O reaction compilations, things like that. Did your awareness of your presence in the space sort of impact your like motivation to stay in it, like the day-to-day of like the grind and so on, like just knowing that those people and those like that presence is out there for yourself? Did that sort of motivate you to get through the day at any point?
I guess so, because it was a surreal, like like I said earlier, I had no real idea about what my channel would become whatsoever before reactions. But I mean, obviously it's not been all sunshine and rainbows as reacting, but it has brought up so many positives. Whether it's, people, really enjoying your stuff, whether it's, building certain bridges and all of that, it really motivated me to continue further and further, because I wasn't, like, as soon as I started reacting to more stuff, I didn't really have an idea on, okay, how long am I going to do this and all of that? Because I didn't think, this would manifest into a React channel, but here we are, I guess. So, yeah. And, even so, I just, love the experiences that come with reacting, because it has been so rewarding. Whether you see yourself in compilations or all of that, or whether you are continuing to build friendships or anything like that, it's just been super rewarding just in itself. And it has continued giving me the drive, not just in terms of, okay, let's continue to react and enjoy and immerse yourself into certain fandoms and all of that, but also it's just so like you just reflect on certain positives that this space has done, and it's so beneficial, and it's like, this is great, this is just rosy. And it's just so weird to think of a world if we just cut away the if I didn't fall into the trap of reacting, how would things be? So
right, you're very different probably.
Scary. Scary dark world.
Yeah, the what if.
Watcher, where are you?
You mentioned the fandoms, the fandom being part of, like, obviously the culture that you sort of dive into when you do these things, specifically for the big ones like Star Wars, like DC, Marvel, all those things, and your position being such a sort of front-facing persona obviously gives you a unique perspective on those fandoms in terms of the way things are shifting over the last decade. I think fandom has shifted in very tumultuous ways, to say the least. And I want to ask, what has your perception been, and your interaction been with those fandoms as you've handled the channel over the last decade?
Oh, good question. I don't know. It's been very interesting, because there have been certain, like, Doctor Who fans, for example, they can be quite debatable and all of that. But I do like to see that there is a good side and a bad side to every fandom and all of that. Like, obviously, back in the day, I don't think it got as vocal as I guess it does right now. But I think I don't know, the engagement with the positives, because I just more so blot out the negatives. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for people parading around with I don't know, rest in peace Doctor Who, for example, or anything like that. I just more so focus on the upbeat people, I guess you could say. And it's just been very interesting in various fandoms and all of that, because each fandom has been very different. There have been some, I'd say completely, well, I wouldn't say completely benevolent, but compared to like the likes of Star Wars and Doctor Who, it just seems very rosy and all of that. I know the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fandom, for example, they were pretty amazing. Right. The Buffy fandom as well. Because that was a show that has such a long standing. So, there have been veterans who watched this way back in 1999, 98 or something like that. And obviously they are different compared to what we have right now, where, or like new shows, should I say, where, social, like, you've got The Last of Us, for example, and you might have like certain differing fandoms and all of that in terms of how ethical certain decisions are and all of that. But yeah, it's just been very interesting interacting with certain fandoms, because there are some fandoms that are just absolutely great, absolutely, lovely. And then there are some that I can get a bit anxious about, because they can bring up some very controversial comments and all of that. And again, I try to blot out the negatives, because it's not only a situation where it's like, I don't want to, like, I just want to, I just want this to be a nice, happy space, etc. But there are also some very questionable comments and all of that, homophobic, racist, and it's just like, no, and get off the channel. We are not here for that. Yeah. So
yeah. Navigating that sort of space now is a hard part, as you said, understanding the sort of dynamics in those comments. How do you parse out, the sort of comments that are sort of just disagreeable, but they're coming from a genuine place, though, and the comments are too toxic to tolerate?
I mean, there are some, like, I can see certain comments that, like, I might not agree with, but what's the word I'm looking for? You know what? It's something. Okay, I see where you're coming from. Okay, sure. And I'll give that a proper read and all of that, and just sometimes give my opinion on things, because it's like, okay, well, this is my take and all of that. Because I know that they might be coming from a good place. For example, Supernatural. I'm going through season 8 at the minute, and obviously during season 7 there was a very, very questionable thing in regards to what happened to a certain character, Amy. If you know, folks. And I kept seeing differing opinions about if Dean was in the right or was Dean in the wrong, etc. And I was like, okay, I see, because I offered my 2 cents about it, but there were some people who were like, who offered their 2 cents about it. So yeah, and then there are comments that I just see that are like, that go very, very aggressive. Like, even if they don't use certain slurs and all of that, they will, call certain characters, terms and all of that. And I'm just like, okay, I don't agree with, what you've just said. There's a very, very hostile environment with what you're coming from, because, they could call, this character a complete bitch, etc. And it's just like, okay, well, I don't really see that as, it seems more hostile than, well, this is my opinion on certain things. So, because there are certain hostile comments that can come across on whatever I upload on, because I've had them on Patreon, but they primarily reside on YouTube, and I, depending on the severity of things, I either just remove the comment, because I also want this to be I also want my space to be safe for everyone. I want it to be very inclusive for everyone, and I don't want, and I know as well how argumentative things can be. So I'm trying to do people a favor as well at the end of the day, because I don't want to make this a battlefield in the comment section. Everyone should have a nice time at the end of the day. And yeah, this is supposed to be a haven. This is not hell. I don't want it to be like that. So I don't have time for any slurs, any racism, any comments that just seem to want to pick a fight or anything like that, because this is not the place. This is not the octagon. So
yeah, you have a unique position of having to be the sort of entertainer and the moderator at the same time. In terms of like managing that sort of community, it's a very important role. And for the channel, though, you eventually dived into anime with My Hero, Attack on Titan, and so on. Was that experience unique in itself from the previous other fandoms that you had been dealing with, for the past few years before that?
In certain ways, because I feel like My Hero and Attack on Titan are 2 completely different animes. Attack on Titan pulls no punches whatsoever, but it's also very, like, it really delves into that, like, moral compass situation, and it's something that I will be picking back up at some point, because I am like, I did stop for a bit, not because of, fandoms or whatever. It was just copyright. It was just tiring. But yeah, I mean, My Hero, yeah, that's a more, I don't know, friendlier, that's a more less consequential thing when it comes to like deaths and all of that. It still has its moments, but it's like PG versus rated 18 or whatever compared to the two. But with the fans, yeah, I mean, that, like I said, when it comes to the tone of the show, I feel like the community themselves has kind of matched the tone where, people will take a deeper dive in terms of, Aaron, for example, and, where he is standing, for example, and compare that with My Hero Academia. There really isn't if anything, you'll only get like a smidge of, someone, seeing a certain point of view from from Bakugo and Deku's relationship, because I know there are some people who somehow ship them. So yeah, and it's like I don't ship them whatsoever. So yeah, but they also, Bakugo is not exactly the most level-headed character out there in My Hero Academia, far from it. But there have been, certain points of view that have been made to, to kind of understand his character, if that makes sense. But it's nothing as deep as the stuff that Attack on Titan delves into, because there have been some very questionable characters that have had that it's difficult to explain, because it's been a while since I delved into those tracks. But there have been certain characters where their moral compass, you don't have to like it, but you understand at the same time about their situation. So yeah, and again, the community, I feel like, matches those tones, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the Attack on Titan, without spoiling anything, is just a show steeped in the morally gray, much more so than My Hero, and that brings a lot of discourse from it.
Yeah,
so to
definitely.
Speak. Yeah. And that sort of carried you over for a while, with anime and like all the shows you were doing up until, I guess, recently, in terms of a cosmic sense, in the pandemic era, once we hit 2020. And that sort of like obviously changed things a bit for everyone on multiple levels. And what was your experience like with the pandemic? I guess sort of personally, but also like mainly managing yourself on the channel with the way things were sort of progressing in the world.
Okay, so I mean, it was very, very interesting, because I felt like, in some semblance, I was, before COVID really started. I don't know, there was a part of me that was feeling, I don't know if I'm coming to the end of my tenure in terms of YouTubing. I'm still, doing good, but I'm also getting older as well. And I was, in the middle of looking for certain jobs and all of that. And I came to the understanding that I might not have the time to do this as much as, I could. And it would probably revert back to what it was when I began, like, Doctor Who and all of that. So... yeah, and it was very difficult for me, because to not, I guess, bring excuses or anything like that. It was very judgmental, because being an autistic person, going out there into the world, it can be very, very difficult to get a job that is fully accepting of you, because sadly there are some discrimination out there, and there are some jobs that you might not be able to handle. So yeah, and obviously shops and all of that were closing. It was a very much grounded situation, obviously, with the pandemic, and I prioritized it a lot more, because it wasn't just getting me through, I guess, in terms of the absence of getting a job and all of that, but it was carrying me through personally. I will always say that 2019 to 2020 was some of the worst years of my life because of events that were affecting my mental health and all of that. And reactions really took a lot off my mind. It was like it was like isolating me. Funnily enough, I guess with the COVID mention, it was isolating me from the world. But it was a nice distraction because it was, my mental health was absolutely terrible there. And it's not exactly a full recovery to this day, but that really took a hit. But it I did see a boost in my channel, and I think that's what people really wanted, was a source of entertainment, something to, because people would do special stuff like Doctor Who, for example. They did special rewatches and all of that, and that got people through. And I was thinking, I want to do something that gets people. I want to, keep doing this to get people through the hard times, because it was very, very difficult. And I found myself producing a lot more. I found myself, I guess, delving into forbidden territory, aka movies, because it was like, well, I haven't really uploaded a movie onto YouTube before, because, usually that's like a big no-no for the companies, but yet I persevered somehow. So, and yeah, again, like I said, I felt like there was a bit of, I felt like there was a bit of growth, and it was pretty positive. It was a positive aspect, because it was making me happy to know that I was making other people happy, especially in a very, very dire time of need. So but it was also making me happy, being able to distract myself from life events that were just plaguing me during those years. So yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, that sort of symbiotic relationship is something that I think that the value of the space brings to the world, and that's why I love it so much. Is the idea of, like, through hard times, entertainment, stuff like that is always sort of prevalent, and I think this sort of specific form of entertainment, which is enjoying someone's specific viewpoint and interaction with that entertainment, is like a really beautiful thing. And you mentioned, even the movie reactions coming into fruition. That was another sort of frontier you were at the forefront of, because that would be sort of the next wave of the reaction space, is now the movie reactions that have been cropping up over the last few years because of it. I guess, what was that like, getting into that territory for the reactions, in terms of, like, I guess, the technical work that goes into it, obviously, because it's a much bigger endeavor, but also like seeing how the space was then starting to develop, because we had the accessibility of movies from the studios that were putting them out earlier and earlier, sometimes like same day as the theatrical releases.
Yeah. It was just very interesting, because there was like an unwritten rule that reactions will, don't even try it. It's not worth the risk, etc. But you're seeing all of these people upload movie reactions, etc. I mean, obviously, like normal reactions, they would be a bit condensed. They wouldn't show the full thing, etc. But I decided, you know what? I want to have a go at this. I want, and it's, not so much, views and all of that, because, I mean, it could get 1,000 views potentially. I can't see into the future in terms of how well a video is going to do, obviously. But it was more so, well, this is, I want to kind of spice things up in terms of what I'm reacting to and all of that, because, you do start to think, how do you try to still be engaging with people and all of that, because I want to still keep people entertained, but I also want to try new ideas out as well. And I just decided, you know what, I will do certain movie reactions onto YouTube, and obviously the full thing would be available on Patreon, but this would be a lot more condensed. And it is difficult, because it is a lot more of I feel like it's a lot more of a hassle when it comes to the editing process, because when it comes to an episode reaction, for example, it's like 40 minutes. So And sometimes, in most cases, you can show like 10 minutes. So you're not really trimming away. Whereas when it comes to movie reactions, there's a bit of ambiguity in my mind because you just don't know what a company will allow in terms of the allocated, I guess, PIP time, for example. So, for example, I guess the Harry Potter reactions, sometimes they could go for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. And obviously the risk is some people will be like, cut out this part, you cut out that part and all of that. And it's like, I would love to include, if the rule book was out the window, if the companies were like, sure, I mean, it's still fair use at the end of the day, it's just as long as you don't show the full thing, I would, but I want to also make it accessible for people, because otherwise the alternative, it gets blocked and no one wins at the end of the day. So it is difficult because, once you've completed the edits and all of that, it's like, okay, what pieces have to be sacrificed and all of that. So, and then of course it was the waiting game, because you were like, okay, are they gonna like allow it and all of that? And, sometimes, like with Warner Brothers, for example, they would block it, but back then they were okay with just unblocking it, being like, oh yeah, sure, it's just a little routine we do. So usually, like you said, usually it would be, it would be the same day, whether it was released or whether the video was uploaded. They would just unlock it and be like, sure, go ahead, make it public. So it was like, I've done a few other like stuff aside from Warner Brothers, because there is stuff like, Barbie that I've done. Disney are usually okay with anything. Like, they're just like, fine, whatever, I don't care. So, so
knock on wood, make sure it stays that way.
because like Warner Brothers, they've changed their tune over the last few years. Once upon a time, they were like, okay, we're good. Now, if you try to upload like the Vampire Diaries or Supernatural or anything like that without any kind of filter, they'll block it. You try to dispute it, they're like, I'm sorry, it's not happening. And it's like, I did everything right. Obviously that's such a huge undertaking to just get into those the movies and everything else during that early era of the pandemic. And as we started sort of like coming out of it after a year and a half, 2 years, we are now in the sort of new era of like the streaming wars, streaming shows that come on so quickly, and like it's like, night of, and like sometimes it's the binge watch, it's the weekly watch, depending on where you're at. And I guess, what has it been, the experience been for you managing that, the sort of alternating, fluctuating war going on between the different platforms, and like all these shows sort of coming up and sometimes just going away, like just very suddenly the next month it's like canceled, it's over, it's deleted. Look, I'm still upset with certain shows that are just cancelled, like the OA, for example. That show was just like, me and a former friend, we loved that show to death, and they ended on such a massive cliffhanger, and then Netflix are just like, it's cancelled, and it's just like, what the hell? So, and it's, just so scary, because you can get invested with a certain show, for example, and you just don't know if they've been commissioned for a new season or anything like that. Sometimes it'll come to the end of the season, and prior to the pandemic and all of that, obviously I think there was still some shows that were in the unknown if they were going to get another season. So, your stuff like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, your stuff like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I remember, like, before the pandemic, with season 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., me and a bunch of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans, we were just breaking it, because we were not wanting season 5 to be the end. Right. And it was like, a few weeks before the final episode of season 5, they announced season 6 happening, and we're like, yes. Yeah. Whereas nowadays, I feel like you can come to an end of a season in particular, and they won't announce it straight off, because obviously they will assess certain numbers and all of that. And I think with the OA, as good as it was in terms of writing, it didn't have the numbers.
Right.
And, that is a sad thing because obviously you want it to thrive and all of that. And especially when you're reacting and all of that, your main one of the main drives is to kind of promote the show, like get more people watching it, saying, hey, I know you might not watch this, but still check out this reaction and see if it's your cup of tea. Because I've had a few people who are, for example, I just started watching Person of Interest. And there are some people who have never watched the show before, but they're watching it alongside me because they want my 2 cents on the matter. And you want to kind of, have that impact when it comes to any show. And I feel like it's very prevalent in this day of age where there is an unknown with certain shows on if they're going to get picked up after a season's concluded. Like take Percy Jackson, for example. I know that ended a couple of weeks ago, but we just got the news a couple of days ago that season 2 is happening. And it's so good. Because you're just sat there after the final episode thinking, I'm praying they are doing a season 2. And, it does seem kind of sad when it comes to the fact that you're hoping a season 2 of a show, of an adaptation, should I say, a season 2 gets greenlit, because you just think back to like the 90s, for example, and they've got like several seasons worth of content out there. And now we're just hoping a season 2 of a show can get, commissioned and all of that. And it doesn't feel like, especially if the show is popular, it might not be popular enough. So like 13 Reasons Why, for example, I know a lot of people slandered that show, but at the same time, a lot of people watch it, and that got picked up. And here's me peeved about the fact that the OA didn't get a season 3. So yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, I only recently watched the OA a couple years ago during the pandemic. So then I was able to catch up on it because there was like grumblings that they might be doing season 3, but like nothing ever came of that. So that's definitely one of the shows I would like to see the plan for that, where they were going with it.
I know, because I don't know how long it's been since it was last on, but I know, like yesterday I heard Wynonna Earp is coming back.
Oh, right,
and that gives you a little bit of hope for certain shows out there, like enough voice out there, and then the show can come back. So, and, every day I'm just hoping, because, you just want to hope that, the OA can come back, or any other show that it can come back as well. So, but sometimes it's just not meant to be. But sometimes there is that diamond in the rough. And
sometimes it makes it.
You just got to keep praying. You just got to keep hoping.
Yeah. And you mentioned, a handful of times, copyright issues and stuff like that. It's always been prevalent throughout the experience. I guess that kind of ties into our sort of roundup here for the final questions, which has been what has been the most consistent obstacle for you over the years with the channel?
See, I would say copyright, but the thing with me is I am persistent as heck when it comes to like those obstacles, because it's like I am never backing down from this fight. It's like I didn't hear the bell ring. Okay, so you know what? I'm still going. We are still doing this dance. So, I mean, even with CBS, for example, that's a popular example. That's a recent example, actually. They were blocking my reactions to Charmed left, right, and center during the Christmas season, and I was like, okay, well, I feel like because CBS were notorious anyways, but I never gave up, and I won at the end of the day. So it was just like, I'm still fighting. So, and that's probably a reason why I wouldn't say copyright isn't an obstacle, because I am just like, you know what, you can keep pushing me back, but
you won't let it be. Yeah.
Oh no, I am not staying down. I am stubborn. So, I'd say more so an obstacle is myself, really, because that is something that is a bit more challenging. Whether it's the drive, for example, like I said, in 2000, like in my worst years, it was, it started off really, really demotivating and all of that. Like there were certain life events that kept knocking me down, and I was just praying, and it worked. Praying, going through certain reactions was going to be the key, but it's always the starting point, because sometimes because there have been moments where I've sometimes sat in front of the monitor, and it's just been a good 5 minutes just hoping that I can, press record and all of that. So I'd say myself has been a bit of an obstacle in the past. And it's also, just hoping that people do enjoy it, because I am my own worst critic. I can't trust myself to, determine how good my stuff is. So yeah, but even I will find little bits and pieces that just annoy me, and it's just like, for crying out loud. So yeah, I don't know if that's because it's been years of low self-esteem or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, I've been notorious for kicking myself down quite a few times, and it's kind of bummed me out when it comes to React, because there's a side of my head that's like, you're letting people down for this reason or that reason, and I shouldn't let it get to me, but it just keeps, it's just like this little annoyance that just keeps cropping up, and it's just like, yeah. So
it can be a vicious cycle, which I think leads into our next question, possibly, which is how have you personally grown over the years with the channel?
Personally, I would say I've definitely gotten a lot more confident in terms of being able to interact with people a lot more. And I feel like the Liam I am right now is a completely different, a different regeneration, I guess, if you will, to who I was this time 10 years ago, actually. So, because I am able to string. I mean, speaking in general can be a bit of a hassle for me. Communication has not been the most strongest asset to me. But it has definitely gotten me to evolve over the years. And, there have been like times when it comes to reacting where it feels like I've got a hand on my throat in some sense, like there's been this pressure. But I feel like as time has gone on, that hand has loosened. And I feel like I'm a lot more of a confident person. I feel like, and that has translated into real life. So I definitely feel like I would be a lot more of a nervous wreck without the development of reactions, like in present day times. So I feel like it's definitely made me a bit of a stronger person in terms of being confident, being able to speak, and just in general, it's helped me grow, which has been a big plus for me, because it has been a struggle, dealing with autism and all of that. Wouldn't change it, but you do acknowledge the struggles that come with it, and I feel like this has helped a lot, whether it's been watching people or whether it's just been me speaking to a camera and all of that. So yeah.
Of course. I mean, that's definitely a part of the experience that I think is very valuable for anyone who gets into the space, is that level of confidence boost that they can get. And the final question here, beyond any monetary or financial value, what is the most rewarding aspect of the channel?
The people, for sure. As I mentioned earlier, I made a lot of friends. It can be reacting based, it can be community based as well. Because I know, there have been a few, stories and all of that, like across the internet, that, you shouldn't befriend community members and all of that. And, at the end of the day as well, I'm just another person. I know I upload videos and all of that, but I'm also a fan as well. There are a lot of channels out there where I am a community member as well at the end of the day, and I've made some really amazing friends. I'm, meeting a really amazing friend that I've been connected to for quite some time next week, and she's taking me to a Comic-Con next month, and that is something that this experience would not be able to, if you removed the reacting experience and, the benefits, I wouldn't be able to get the chance to meet Karen Gillan next month. And it's just I'm just still processing that. But it's definitely been the people, because I have met some amazing people. I do D&D every Saturday with a bunch of amazing friends who, they are my best friends so much. And, even if, certain people are, I guess, not best friends, they're still honorable, amazing people that I do speak to. And, they've also done a lot for me, in especially if I've gone through dark days and all of that. There have been people who have done so much to me, and I think it's very important to obviously not just interact with people and all of that just in general, but also if you're making friends, it's also important to consider how amazing they have been and how they've impacted you. And when I do conclude this, when I do end the reacting experience, the main takeaway is definitely going to be my friends, or the people that I have interacted with, because there is a special bond, and it's going to be something that's going to be seared into my heart until, the day I shuffle off this mortal coil. So,
right.
Yeah,
that's a great answer. Yeah, the people, fantastic. To get our final questionnaire of the show that we do with everyone, the final 10 questions, just straight down the barrel for you. Feel free to be as concise or expound as you want. First question is, what is your favorite TV show?
Doctor Who. Always Doctor Who.
I figured.
It's never gonna change. So
I'll take that. I figured. Second question is, what is your favorite film?
My main answer would be the 2013 movie Rush, which is an F1 film with,
right.
For those who don't know, Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Brühl, who are in the MCU, playing Niki Lauda and James Hunt. So good. But especially as of recent, Sonic 2, just love it. I can never stop getting over it, and I'm never shutting up about Sonic 3 coming out this year. So yeah,
I'm pretty excited. I was talking to my friend the other day. If they play Live and Learn,
I think they've confirmed they are playing that, and I'm hoping it's not going to be like a little jingle or whatever. I'm just, because I know it's supposed to be based off Sonic Adventure 2, and there is one certain sequence that blasts that song, and I'm just like,
it has to be like. Yes, I don't know, some really amazing action piece, set piece for that song. I'm hoping for it.
Yes.
Third question is, what stresses you out?
Life. Every day. No. I would say, well, there are quite a few aspects. Definitely, when March comes around, Formula One is definitely going to stress me out. Especially, I'm keeping my eyes on Ferrari because I couldn't deal with last year, whatever. So, watching that, as much as I love it, it's just the bane of my life. Being on the phone to someone. I do speak about the fact that I have grown in terms of, speaking and all of that, but especially when there's an unknown number, it's just like, be gone, demon. Just be gone. I don't know you. Don't want to know you. So it's just like, That's
fair.
And I guess, reaction based in terms of stress. It's always, going to be the disputes and all of that, because you will have some companies that are just going to, this is fair use, No, it's not. Not to me. So, but it is. No, it's not.
Yeah. And then what helps you relax?
I would say, listen, playing with my dog Milo,
Hmm.
who I just got last year. He's a delight. Being with my fiance, um, David Bowie, definitely
David, nice.
love David Bowie. He just takes me in a very zen place, and
Yeah,
yeah, so
that
I'd
makes sense.
say
Great answer.
those definitely help me relax.
And what is a hobby or passion outside of TV and film that you have?
I love gaming so much. I'll always like sometimes even during editing and all of that. When it's more simulation based games like F1 Manager, for example, I can just run that in the background whilst editing.
Right.
But I just love gaming so much. Writing as well.
Nice.
I know I do have a second channel for my audio stories, and I
Hmm.
just love doing that so much. I love, utilizing the creativity, um, and like utilizing ideas into words and all of that, and it's
Right.
just like so thrilling when you're done. So, as well as running, as well. Like,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, so good.
Yeah.
It's not relaxing for the legs, but so good.
It's good for you. Good for the soul. Good for you in the body.
Yes.
What fictional character do you relate to or just care deeply about?
I mean, there's a few. There is a few. I mean, obviously there's the Doctor, but there is a certain incarnation that I feel like I definitely relate to. The 11th, especially with the quirks that he has, and some of the gestures, and he's just someone that I could imagine like being. I could imagine being in his shoes and all of that, and
All right.
it wouldn't feel out of place. Like, at least for me, I don't know about anyone else, but at least in terms of my mentality. But
Hmm.
um, I also feel like deviating away from Doctor Who, I've always found myself tied to Anya in some weird way from Buffy.
Right.
But I've also, like, during my time during that, I've always seen certain ties to her, and how she might be on the autism spectrum and all of that, and it's just,
Hmm.
and not just that though, but some of the mannerisms, it's just like, you know what, yeah, sure, I can see it personally, so
Right.
yeah.
That makes sense. A lot of sense. Um,
Not that I'm a
uh,
demon.
and what is your guilty pleasure, show or film?
Oh, I don't personally have, like, in terms of, I embrace what I watch, but
That's fair. Yeah.
obviously there are some people who, I don't know, who might do a double take, etc. If I say, like, I don't know, I feel like if I mentioned Sonic Boom, for example, like, yeah, sure, it's cartoon and kids based, but some of the jokes they come out with just would fly over your heads, and all of that, and they're
Yeah.
just so funny, like, even for a mature audience. I know that helped me through some dark times and all of that, but yeah.
Yeah.
American Dad as well, like, especially the early seasons. Like, sometimes if I have something very, very nice and I just don't know what to do tonight, or
Yeah.
for example, I'll just stick that on and just enjoy some of the early episodes of that.
Yeah.
So
It's a
yeah.
good throwback. Yeah. And what show or film gave you your favorite reaction experience with the channel?
um Show and my favorite, I mean, I feel like Buffy definitely
Hmm.
did. There have been, I mean, it's not just the community that was just really amazing in itself, but um, there are certain episodes that just stick by me when it comes to the reacting experience and all of that. Like,
Right.
for example, Once More with Feeling.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Like, I feel like there are some people who come into that episode knowing what the gist is. I had no idea what was going to happen.
Right.
And so, it began and I'm like, okay, well, this is different. And then, and it was just so well done. And, I had, there were a lot of episodes in Buffy that, people were just rubbing their hands in excitement about, whether they are tragic. I'm not mentioning a certain episode in season 5 whatsoever.
I think we all know.
Yeah, I think if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Some tragic, some like Once More with Feeling that are just so good writing wise, and it was just a blast to be a Buffy for me to go through Buffy for the first time during that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Buffy's a fantastic show. I've been rewatching it lately, through reactions, also just on my own. It's such a fun rewatch. Yeah. And what show or film do you wish you could erase from your memory and react to on camera for the first time?
Oh, that's tough because there's a part of me that wants to say Doctor Who, but if I didn't, if I erased that, then that kind of creates a domino effect because that's how I started it. Yeah. And if you removed Doctor Who from my mind, it's just like, well, where do I start? You don't, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I am tempted to say, even though I've got all, if my memory was erased and you deleted these reactions, maybe Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's such an underrated Marvel show. And it was so good. I'm still gutted about the fact, it's been a few years, but I'm still gutted about the fact that, I can't react to any episodes and all of that. Mm-hmm. But it created so much joy, especially, it produced my favorite ship of all time. And it produced so many great moments, and it was a blast to go for, and I would do it again. So, and it wouldn't impact anything. So, as much as I would love to say Doctor Who, I have to be cautious because otherwise I'm just creating a paradox.
Yeah.
So,
fair. Yeah, it's a good way to think about it. And final question here: what advice would you give to your past self if you can go back in time when you first started the channel?
Watch your first episode on a proper TV instead of the broken laptop. That's and don't sit in a very awkward position, because it was a very awkward position. It was just far out, and me on my it wasn't up close or anything like that. And I'm sitting here thinking, what were you doing, Liam, back then?
Right.
But I think would say, don't worry about, the stuff. Even if you want to upload something out of the realm, even if you've established this as a reaction channel and all of that, don't worry about what you want to put out and all of that, and just don't worry in general, because this is going to be an amazing ride. Sure, there are going to be moments where it's just going to be pulling teeth and all of that, but it's more rewarding than negative. And not just that though, it's a situation where you just don't worry about what people think, because there might be some people who might think, oh, reactions, what a joke and all of that. But again, it's a rewarding experience, and you don't just have a really, really great time expanding your taste buds and all of that, but it's also expanding your circle. And it's honestly going to be one of the I'll try not to include any spoilers, but it's going to be one of the best experiences of your life.
Right.
So trust your elder, younger Liam. 2014 or pre-2014 Liam.
Right. No spoilers. Yeah, good rule. Come from Doctor
Who. Yeah, spoilers.
As we know, yeah. Liam, thank you so much for joining us today. It was lovely just to hear your thoughts and your insight into your experience with the channel and how you've grown over the years.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor to be here, and I just loved doing this. So thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Where can we find you online, YouTube, anywhere otherwise?
Well, my name is Liam Catterson Yeah, I know it's not obscure, is it? But I also go on Twitter, Liam Catterson 94. Be careful, there are going to be F1 posts. I will not shut up about it, so caution at your own will. Same with Instagram, Liam Catterson 94. And I think that's it. I mean, there's also my Patreon, which is Liam Catterson, just no spaces, of course.
Right. Important.
Those are my links. Those are my links.
Yeah, good. Great to know. As always, you can find us here on Passion Fruit. Please like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Please share the newsletter if you find us there, and we'll catch you on the next episode.